Yeah, it's like, you know how Chinese water torture, the whole reason why it's torture is because it's like unpredictable. Like, you don't know when the water's gonna drop. It's that as a keyboard. It's terrible.
I guess. So as a side hobby, I like to build keyboards, and something that comes along with this is having a lot of extra parts. These include switches, and I've got a ton of extra switches. Today I'm gonna rally up all my switches and build a very uncomfortable keyboard. Why might I be building this keyboard? I have no idea, I was just curious. But first I need to pick out my switches. I've got around 30 different types of switches, including tactile, linear, and ear-aching clicky switches. Each switch has a different weight, feel, and sound, which will hopefully make this keyboard sound very inconsistent. Here's a list of all the switches I used if you're curious, and the first step is to lube the tactile and linear switches.
Couldn't find the words to say it, so I spat it. Didn't mean to say it in a way that was combative or seen as disrespectful. As far as spitting, can't finish this bar until the R is written. Had to state my name, date and time, date of birth, current address, and current state of mind. Really wasn't even sure, but still stated fine and spat my latest rhymes from April that may combine June and dollar spring. Origins unknown and baby pictures I was green. Wasn't from the same cloth, it's how it seemed.
Now that we're done lubing the switches, it's time to assemble the keyboard. So far, this keyboard is looking very scuffed, but it's time to move on to the keycaps. Our keyboard is finished and it's time to see how it sounds, but first I invited my good friend Jordan over and let him test out the keyboard.
Oh, it's got a bunch of different switches.
It's pretty
Are
cursed.
they all different?
Well, there's 30 different types.
That is the most awful feeling thing. I hate that. It's so bad.
It's so unsatisfying, and half of them are like really bad switches too.
I'm actually mad at you for wasting your time building this. This is terrible.
And then there's the clicky switches in between.
Yeah, ew. Dude, that is it's amazing how awful it is. I hate it. It's the worst thing. Yeah, I'd rather take one of those Apple flat keyboards.
Oh no, I would rather have.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
The inconsistency when typing.
Yeah, and it would, like, over time you would just start losing your mind.
Yeah, it's like, you know how Chinese water torture, the whole reason why it's torture is because it's like unpredictable. Like, you don't know when the water's gonna drop. It's that as a keyboard. Terrible.
I guess. Okay, alright, enough with that. Now it's time to do a sound test with this hellspawn of a keyboard. Final thoughts on this board, I really don't notice the difference too much. Well, other than the clicky switches, but the tactile and linear blend pretty well. Of course, if I go through individually, then I can pick out the differences, but all in all, I think I would start going mad if I had to use this consistently for a long time. The inconsistency is just too unsatisfying. If you enjoyed this video, consider commenting on what I should try next.
We gonna roll. You know what? I tell you what, we gonna come back on the next tape and y'all have a good night.